At the beginning of the film, we meet a woman named Iris. She's deeply grieving. Not long ago, she lost her son, and ever since it feels like her whole world has come to a halt. Dark thoughts have started to take over her mind. One night, while everyone's asleep, she quietly slips a small knife into her pocket, gets in her car, and drives off. By morning, she arrives near the mountains, the place where her son is buried. There, she delivers a heartbreaking monologue to him, admitting she no longer finds any joy in life. She walks to the edge of a cliff, ready to end it all, when suddenly a man appears. He can tell right away what Iris is about to do. Trying to stop her, he gently starts talking. He introduces himself as Richard. "I'm not here to stop you," he says. "I just want to say a few things before you go." Then he tells her a story about a young boy full of life. This boy loved cars, adventure, anything that brought excitement. But one day, while driving with a friend, they got into a terrible accident. The boy survived, but his friend didn't. That guilt and trauma haunted him for months. But when he finally came out of that dark place, he realized something. His family had been there the whole time, waiting for him to heal, loving him unconditionally. That's when he understood. Shutting down his life had been a huge mistake. The point is, Richard tells Iris, no one really wants to die. It's just that in our weakest moments, we forget that. Then he says, "Now it's up to you. If you still want to go, I won't stop you." After saying this, he walks away. But his words leave a deep impact on Iris. She decides not to go through with it and heads back to her car, only to find that Richard had parked his car so close to hers that she couldn't even open the door. Just then, Richard comes back with an umbrella. He tells her he'll help open the door, but Iris finds it odd. Why bring an umbrella on a hot, sunny day? Before she can react, Richard attacks her with it. It turns out the umbrella is electrified, and the shock knocks her out. As she starts to lose consciousness, she can feel him tying her hands and legs, and then he lifts her into his car. When Iris wakes up, she doesn't say anything, but quietly tries to call her husband using her smartwatch. Richard quickly catches on and tells her there's no signal out here, so there's no use trying. That plan failed, but she remembers the knife in her pocket. She secretly pulls it out and tries to cut the ropes tying her hands. To avoid suspicion, she keeps talking to Richard while working on the knots. As soon as she's free, she attacks him without hesitation. The car swerves and crashes into a tree. Both of them get hurt in the accident. Iris tries to protect herself again, this time by wrapping a seatbelt around Richard's neck, but he manages to break free. She goes at him a third time, and the force of the struggle throws both of them out of the car. Iris holds the knife to Richard, and that's when he calmly says, "Do you think I'm stupid? You really think I'd stand here if I hadn't already injected you with something? In about 20 minutes, your whole body will shut down. You won't be able to move, run, or even speak. Do what you want with that time." That hits her hard. Terrified, she runs toward the forest as fast as she can, but soon enough her legs begin to go numb, exactly like Richard said. She drops to the ground and starts crawling. Richard is already closing in, searching for her. To hide, she crawls under the bark of a tree, but ants start crawling all over her. She screams in fear, giving away her position. Richard hears her and comes closer. Desperate, she drags herself into a stream and lets the current carry her away. From a distance, Richard yells, "You're making a mistake! You can't swim! You'll drown!" But Iris doesn't stop. She can't actually swim, but the stream's current pulls her to the other side. She sees the bank nearby. There's just 1 minute left before she completely loses control of her body. Using every bit of strength she has left, she crawls onto the bank and spots a farmhouse in the distance. She pushes herself toward it but collapses just before reaching the door. Now she can't move, can't speak, only her eyes still respond. After a long time, an old man working nearby notices her lying there. He comes over and asks what happened, but she can't respond. So he starts asking yes or no questions. "Can you hear me? Are you in danger? Do you need help?" Iris uses her eyes to answer. 1 blink for yes, 2 for no. He understands and quickly helps her, carrying her into the farmhouse using a wheelbarrow. Just as they get inside, there's a knock on the door. Iris realizes immediately it's Richard. She starts blinking frantically, trying to warn the old man that she's in danger. Luckily, he picks up on her signals and hides her behind the sofa. When he opens the door, it's exactly as she feared. Richard is standing there. He starts putting on an act, crying and pretending to be someone looking for help. Richard tells the old man that his son has recently died, and because of that, his wife went into shock. Her body became paralyzed, and now she's missing. He pretends he's been desperately searching for her and doesn't know where she's gone. At first, the old man doesn't quite buy the story and tells Richard to call his wife, but Richard lies and says he lost his phone somewhere along the way. The old man starts to believe him. Those fake tears almost work. But then Richard's phone rings from his pocket, exposing the lie. The old man instantly catches on, and now Richard drops the act. He shows his true face and asks coldly, "All right then, if you know who I am, tell me, have you seen Iris or not?" The old man warns Richard to leave before he calls the police. But instead of backing down, Richard attacks him. What Richard doesn't expect is that this old man is a lot tougher than he looks. A brutal fight breaks out. The old man fights back hard, overpowering Richard and beating him down so badly his strength is nearly gone. As the old man reaches for his phone to call the police, Richard grabs a knife that had fallen nearby and stabs it into the old man's leg. The old man falls to the ground, groaning in pain. Then, with cold brutality, Richard pulls the knife out and repeatedly stabs the man in the stomach until he dies right there on the spot. Iris, still hidden behind the sofa, sees everything, helpless, horrified. That man died just because of her. Now Richard knows he's in deep trouble. He's committed murder. To erase all evidence, he soaks the place in kerosene and sets the farmhouse on fire before running away. Iris is still alive inside and doesn't want to burn to death. So with every ounce of willpower she has left, she moves a single finger. She manages to wedge it into the slat of the window and starts sliding it open and shut, desperately trying to signal for help. From outside, Richard sees the movement. He realizes someone's still alive, and that someone is a threat. He runs to the house and sees that it's Iris. Without wasting a second, he pulls her out and loads her into a nearby truck, the old man's truck, since their cars had been left far away. Iris is silent, unable to speak, but she can hear everything. As they drive, Richard gets a call from his daughter. She says she misses him and that she and her mom are coming to see him. Richard panics. "No," he tells her, "you can't come, not now, my work isn't done." But his daughter insists, and they hang up saying they're coming home. Now Richard is even more anxious. Distracted, he nearly crashes the truck, and to make matters worse, he runs out of fuel. He stops at a gas station, and to avoid suspicion, puts a cap on Iris's head to hide her expressions. Iris, using the tiny bit of strength returning to her hands, struggles to open the seatbelt. Every tiny motion is a huge effort due to the paralysis. At the gas station, a young boy about her son's age catches her eye. Seeing him floods her with emotion. The boy senses something's wrong, but before he can say anything, his mother pulls him away. The woman also senses something off about Iris, so she secretly calls the police and gives them the truck's license plate number. Richard, unaware, drives off to the place where he left his own car, intending to switch vehicles and return home. But just as he's about to make the switch, a police officer arrives and stops him. The officer says there's been a complaint about the truck. Richard, calm and confident, tells him it must be a mistake. He's just on a trip with his wife. The officer asks to speak to her. One look at Iris's face, though, and it's clear something's not right. Richard quickly explains that she's just drunk. That's why she looks like that. Meanwhile, Iris, struggling, manages to roll down the car window. The officer comes closer, and with everything she has, she whispers, "Help me." And just like that, the whole story flips. The officer searches the truck and finds the syringe Richard used to paralyze Iris. It becomes clear Richard's a kidnapper. Before the officer can act, Richard realizes the tide has turned and hits him in the head with a heavy iron tool, killing him instantly. Then he drags the body into the vehicle, sets it on fire, and once again tries to erase every trace of what he's done. Iris is devastated. Her last hope for help is gone. But something changes. Her body starts responding again. The paralysis is fading. She regains her voice and decides she has to save herself. She starts talking to Richard, trying to appeal to his emotions, knowing he has a daughter. But there's no humanity left in him. He laughs at her attempts. Then Iris grabs the syringe, trying to inject him in the leg. But she's too weak. It doesn't work. Richard laughs, mocking her weakness, and says, "You thought you could hurt me? I changed the plan. I was going to take you to my house and kill you, but now that my family is coming there, I'll just kill you by the stream. I had big plans for torturing you, but my family ruined that, so now I'll just get it over with." He drags her to the water and into a boat. Iris, still half paralyzed, sits quietly thinking. Then she sees it, a knife tucked in the back of Richard's waistband. She starts crying and tells him, "There's a photo of my son in my pocket. I want to see him one last time. Can you please take it out for me?" Richard laughs but agrees. As he bends down, Iris grabs the knife and stabs him right in the lower neck. The blade pierces through his mouth. Richard howls in pain. He tries to shoot her, but Iris grabs the gun and fires first. Richard falls into the stream. For the first time, Iris feels safe. She's killed the man who destroyed her life, but her relief is short-lived. The boat's been damaged by the gunfire and is rapidly filling with water. Iris, still too weak to swim properly, starts sinking, but the paralysis helps her float like a lifeless body. Slowly, her body returns to normal, and with all her strength, she swims to the shore. She starts laughing. She can't believe she survived a psychopath. Just as she's about to walk away, she sees Richard crawling onto the opposite bank, barely alive, taking his final breaths. She could call the police, but instead, she chooses revenge. She watches him suffer and walks away. And that's where the movie ends.